Welcome back to the final season of The Quest, and as the league predictions show, the pressure's on. And how the FM gods like to have their fun, it's match day 1 and we've been drawn against, yes, our former club Locomotiva. So if we suffer our humbling defeat against our former employers, well, the season is going to start with an absolute whimper, but you never know. We might be able to get it off to the dream start with a big morale-boosting win. It's been a couple of seasons since Dinamo have competed at the top end of the table. We've done lots of work to try and shape the squad so that they can compete on 2 fronts this season, but the board have not made it easy for us. Yes, that's right. We have had bids raining in all through the off-season for most of our first-team players. And while some of the ones that we were desperate to keep, we've been rejecting and the board haven't interfered in that, with some of our more mid-range players, the board have been accepting some offers which I don't think are even that great, and they've been in key positions on the field as well. So the first is for Pascal Lorette, not a great goalkeeper, one who I probably had half an eye on upgrading. But when a bid came in from Young Boys for £4.3 million, the board let him go, despite that only being £500,000 more than what they paid for him when they bought him in from Luzerne a season beforehand. It was useful money that went into the transfer kitty. We didn't even protest this transfer because a couple of days before, a bid came in for one of our even more important players, and the board accepted it again. And this time it really did pose a problem for us. The player was James Gomez. Some bids had come in for him previously from clubs in Saudi Arabia and we turned them down. But then a bid came in again, not for a huge amount of money, £4.6 million, and the board accepted it. You can see that he's now worth potentially £25 million. He would have been a starting central defender for us. He would have been a foreign player that could speak Croatian, essentially. When the board accepted it, we protested. We pressed button after button after button, all the way up to where the only option left for us was to threaten to resign, and we'd only been in the job about 4 weeks by this stage. So we had to just accept that the board had decided that he was going to go, and those 2 departures meant that we were weakened significantly in what was already the area of the pitch that I had highlighted that we needed to tighten up. So we've done our best to patch a squad together. I had visions of going into the transfer window and making maybe 3 or 4 astute signings that would strengthen us significantly. Unfortunately, the scouts didn't find players that were an awful lot better than what we had already. Most of the signings I've made are pretty much going to feature as backups, so that we've got lots of rotation options throughout the season, as hopefully we're top of the league and going deep into European competition. I've had to bring in a new goalkeeper. I've had to bring in a new central defender. I wanted to bring in a central defender to play alongside the Gambian that the board sold. Instead, I've had to bring in one to replace them. I've also brought in some other players that we're going to try and ease into the squad gently, as many of them are foreign and don't speak Croatian yet. And I want to try and keep the unity and the harmony and the cohesion amongst the players as much as I can, so we can try and make a strong start to the season. So let's talk you through our transfer business, starting in goal, where we signed Fulham's backup keeper Leopold Volstedt, and we spent big on this player. It was about £6 million up front plus add-ons. He's on £57,000 a week. A little bit of a panic buy after the board sold our goalkeeper from beneath us. They're good at one-on-ones. They've got good reflexes and agility. They're 31 years old, so they're very experienced, and fortunately, they don't speak the language yet, and that's not going to be that conducive to having an organised defensive unit, particularly when James Gomez replacement also cannot speak Croatian. This is Serdar Sarci, a Turk with 12 caps and 1 goal, and that came at the recent FIFA World Cup where they were playing. Reasonably quick, physicals all round are reasonably good. They're a good tackler, they're brave, they're aggressive. Alas, they're not going to be able to speak the language of their fellow defenders, so we'll have to see how they settle in. We're also having to bring Beckham Avia into the defence as well as a starting centre-half. They were meant to be our backup anchor man. We couldn't really find another centre-half that would be good enough to start. I think we've got a decent backup in Sebastian Valukiewicz, He's a 30-year-old Pole with 31 international caps. Solid, unspectacular, I would say. We've also brought in some backup defenders because we were a little light in this part of the pitch. We've brought in Timothée Pembele, a right back or a centre half. And we've also brought in Leonardo Lello, who I think is as good as our starting left back, so can rotate in and out of the side at will, I think, when our mate Kompan Bresnic needs a little bit of a rest. I wouldn't say we've strengthened the defence, and that was my key objective going into the transfer window, but we've replaced like with almost like, I would say. Further up the pitch, we're going to try and keep the players that did well for us at the end of last season as an anchorman. We still have Emiliano Martinez, the veteran Uruguayan, but we've also signed a youngster, Jan Parashek. Again, we've spent big, about £6 million up front on Jan. Physically superb, mentally very, very good. Technically, well, they're only going to be an anchorman, so we'll hope that the technicals will hold up. But further forward, we're going to be playing players that have been at the club for a while and come through their own youth system, such as Branko Pavic. A whole host of clubs from the Middle East have been making bid after bid after bid. We're going to have the young wonder kid, Peter Ishek. No bids for him, but he looks like he could be a very vital player for us on the right this season. A player where the bids have been coming in is Gabriel Vidovic. We've had lots of bids again from Saudi Arabian clubs for their services. The player who's attracted the most interest during the summer has been Miroslav Milanovic. In fact, he's a little bit upset that we've turned down bids from Manchester United and Liverpool. The one he was most upset about was turning down a bid from Newcastle, believe it or not. But we've managed to fend off interest, and the board haven't so far jumped in and overruled us. Up front, we're going to have Jakub Uso, the returning wonder kid who's just played a World Cup semi-final for the Ivory Coast. They've only just jetted back into Croatia and they're straight into the starting lineup for today's game. We've brought in other backup players as well. Astavranks comes in on a free transfer. We've also brought in Slovenian Svet Šešla, who's going to be a backup right-sided player, cutting in on their left foot. And over on the left-hand side, we're going to have Rinier, who is going to be a left-sided cutting-in player for us once more. They have no ability to play there at the moment, but they look like a very good backup, so we brought them in. The other player that we're going to have as a backup for us this season is Cole Palmer, who, when we need a deputy deep-lying forward, is going to come into the side. An exciting name, but in this game world, they've barely kicked a ball for Chelsea during the last 8 seasons. In fact, their best bit of first-team football was out on loan at Ludogorets. So I don't see them as a key part of our plans, but when we need to rest players, not a bad deputy to bring in. So we've not really brought in a star name. We've not really brought in somebody who I think has significantly strengthened the first team, which is filling you all with optimism, no doubt, as this is our last season of the quest and we're going to try and do a league and European double. We have already played one game so far this season. It was against Osijek in the Super Cup. Lots of our players were still at the World Cup for this fixture, so we had to play some of our deputies. We didn't do very well, really. We perhaps should have scored. We had an XG of 1.04 compared to their 0.79, but the shots and the shots on target were very, very similar. Only one player averaged above a 7. And it's not exactly filled us with confidence going into this season. I guess Osijek are the reigning champions, so they're expected to be up there once more this season. But we spluttered and we huffed and we puffed in this game without looking very dangerous. If you have a look at the Media Dream 11, there's plenty of our players in there. We've got the left back, we've got the centre half that we bought in is presumably one of the best in the country. Our playmakers in the side, Uso, Vidovic, Milanovic, all expected to be amongst the best players in the nation. But will they be enough to get us a victory against Locomotiva on the opening day of the season? I guess there's only one way to find out. And so here's the lineup that we're up against, and there is a whole host of familiar names. Bunty will be in goal, Pubel, Adarabioyo, Camboala and Vasquez is the back four that we were playing. Babanya's in the midfield, Daniek is still there, Traore and Mari are both there. They've also brought in a player called Oliver Antman, who's going to be on the left side for them. Otherwise, it's pretty much a squad that we put together for them. And wouldn't it just be Football Manager folklore if they were the team that wounded our title chances on the opening day of the season? We'll just have to see whether our new recruits and our old guard can somehow mould together as a unit and beat them on the opening day of the season. We're going to be the home team. Let us know down in the comments, by the way, what you think of our transfer business. I am in braced positions here. Even I myself don't think that it was quite of the calibre that I dreamt it would be. I thought we might bring in 3 or 4 players that would really be strong first-team players. Perhaps the Turkish centre-half, if he's in the media dream 11, is perhaps a strong signing, but they came in on a free. I'm not sure whether the others are really much of an upgrade on what replaced them. This game is underway, though. We've had a shot to 0.00 XG. Locomotiva have had 2 shots already, and it's not exactly been a stunning start to the game. Here is the first highlight, though. It looks like it could be for us, tentatively. And here is Parajek playing it over to Pavic, the playmaker. He's the one that's got all of the technical ability to try and make us tick. He sends a ball into the box that eventually falls to Vidovic, the left-sided midfielder. He had an effort on goal that was blocked. And it's now actually Locomotiva that raid down our right. A strong bit of defensive play snuffs that effort out. And we're into the highlights straight away for a throw-in for us that we've won in the midfield. And here is the wonder kid Uso, probably a little tired after going deep into the World Cup. He's had no pre-season break at all, but that does not matter. Maybe it just means that he is at full match sharpness because he's broken into the box and he has just sent a lifted effort past the goalkeeper. It's the deep-lying forward Milanovic that tees him up, and he has just scooped it past a goalkeeper who went down too early. And 25 minutes into the game, we are 1-0 up against our former club Locomotiva, and that gives us a little bit more comfort that maybe this team might be able to put a few results together at the start of the season. I'm fairly confident as we move through the campaign and players learn Croatian that we're going to have quite a decent side. It's the start that I'm worried about, and I will take 1-0 at half-time. The second half is underway. Only Kompan Bresnic, our left-back, I would say is underperforming so far. Most players are on 6.8, 6.9s. Kompan Bresnic is on a 6.6, and we might bring on our backup left-back. In fact, we've got to the hour mark. We've not had a single highlight in the second half. I think we get him on now. We're actually going to make a double change down that flank. So we are going to bring on Leonardo Lelo as our left back. We're going to bring Rainier on as well because our left-sided midfielder was only pulling a 6.7. Rainier's not got any ability to play out there, but I think they've got all the attributes for it. So I'm just going to put my trust in the fact that their skill level will overcome their lack of positional ability, and maybe they might be able to create another chance for us. Here we go with another highlight. Milanovic sends it into Ricard. Bunty spreads himself, gets a hip on the ball, and it goes behind for a corner. I'd like to try and add a second, potentially even a third in this game, just to give us a little bit of confidence at the start of the season. Here's the substitute Rainier. He sent the ball into the box. It falls to Ishek. He sends it in, but Bunty eats those kind of crosses for breakfast and comes out and claims it. We've got more tired players out on the pitch, so we're going to introduce more of our new guard. Ishek's going to come off. We're going to bring Seshla on to be the inverted winger over there on the right. Pavic is also looking tired. Cyril Vincic is a homegrown player and another one that's been attracting interest from some pretty big clubs. Porto have put in numerous bids. They're only a backup player for us, but I think they're pretty handy, and they're going to come onto the field as well. And we'd dearly like to try and add a second goal into this game just to make it a little bit more of a convincing and comprehensive victory. Here is Beckham Avia on to Vincic, the new playmaker that we've brought on. And Rainier looks good over on the left to me. He's taking our set pieces. He's drifting in and creating. Uso has a shot that's turned behind for a corner. Rainier slings it in. It causes trouble. It's a dangerous ball in. Locomotiva get it away. The highlight continues. In fact, Rainier Looks like they're heavily involved in the game. We'll ignore that terrible pass that Bunty pounces on. And still the highlight's not over. They play it long. Avia wins the header. Vincic is on the ball, looking to just knit a pass through. He's got it into Sessler, another of the substitutes. Milanovic has got space to fling the ball over onto the left flank. Renier plays it to the sub left back. And there is our second of the game. And it's one of our new boys. It's the 21-year-old Czech, Jan Perešek, who has fired it in low to the corner of the net. And it was three of our new players all combining. It's Renier to Lello to Perešek. He's playing as an anchor man. He's not in the team for his technical ability. But that was a good little finish past Bunty, who has his hands on his head. And maybe now we can just try and relax into the final 10 minutes of the game, try and pick them off and get a third. Certainly, let's not let them back into the game by letting them get a goal back. They're coming forward. We've robbed them. Sessler shows a little bit of strength on the ball there and then completely backtracks on that and gives the ball away by being tackled from behind. It's Rasander playing it back to Willy Camboala Adarabioyo. It's like the old days where we're commentating on Locomotiva. Camboala's got the ball again. It's Pubel, who's playing quite centrally for a right back, and Rasander breaks through, and our new goalkeeper Volstedt turns it around the post, proving that they were perhaps a better signing than I might have given them credit for at the start of this episode. 81 minutes played. We're 2-0 up. We've had 12 shots. A pleasing percentage of those have been on target. 8 of them have troubled the goalkeeper. 2 of them have found the back of the net. Lello slings a ball in. Bunty flaps at it. We have a shot from the edge of the area that cannons off a defender and goes behind for a corner. Lello's going to be taking it out there from the right-hand flank. It's a poor delivery in. And now we're just racing through to full time in this game. A clean sheet I will take. 2 goals. I would have liked one more, but I guess we will take. And we've perhaps got one final highlight before the referee closes the opening match day of the season. Here's Lello. It's looked pretty lively since they came on. Avia, Renier gives the ball away. Brilliant. Maybe bringing them in when I didn't actually have a position for them in the tactic that I've created might not have been my smartest move. I might have been blinded by how good their technical ability was. There is the full-time whistle. We've won the game 2-0. I'm pretty pleased with that. The XG looks healthy. We've restricted Locomotiva to just 1 shot on target. Most of our players have got above a 7. I guess that's a reasonable first game of the season. But of course, we know that this save is all about European competition, and we're not far away from the Europa League playoff round. We don't know who we're going to get yet, but that is the tie that we're going to be coming back for, and hopefully we'll make progress into the Europa League phase so that we can try and reach that European final.